We've made it past Thanksgiving, and we're officially into Christmas. And I hope you didn't gain too many pounds there, Lalo. I imagine you were telling me before last year, I think it was, that your family has this tradition of the turkey trot. So you're trying to burn calories before you eat, right?
You almost have to these days, but anyway.
Yeah, after you eat, it's like, all right, I'm done here. And the other thing is with Thanksgiving especially is you're in a carb coma afterwards with the mashed potatoes and the stuffing and everything else is so carb heavy in the meals traditionally.
No, so. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, so but like you said, we're now officially in Christmas season. So here in El Paso, that means tamales and all that good stuff. So.
Oh yeah. I need to come down there so I can get some good Mexican food.
Yeah, we'll ship it out to you.
Yep. Well, today we're going to, kind of do something like what we did for Thanksgiving, where we were talking about classifying, Thanksgiving meal or Thanksgiving Day type items. Hence the turkey trot. You were talking about I think we had mentioned some tennis shoes or running shoes to some of the food products and all that. So I think we're going to change something and go down the Christmas roll of trying to classify certain things here.
Yeah, well, what happened is that several years ago, I was talking to our guest, Hal Berman, that we had a blog post that we put together well over 10 years on issues regarding classifying festive items or holiday items, either or, and, it could be if it doesn't have, say, a Christmas tree on it, or it could be B, if you throw a Christmas tree on it. Or we'll get some clarification because sometimes just putting a Christmas tree on it does not necessarily do that. But anyway, so that's what we want to talk about today, only because, of course, we're approaching Christmas and we try to stay on theme here for one. And plus it's also a fun discussion. I know Hal is very knowledgeable, and I know he's been classifying since he was like, I guess 4. That was his first words out of his mouth were tariff or something like that. I think I remember that. coming from a broker family. So anyway,
that in the word classify,
Yeah.
Oh, welcome to the show. It's we're obviously having some fun with you.
Yeah, it's great to be back. It's really a privilege to be able to talk about one of the coolest things, which is the weird catch-alls and the weird edge cases that, on the tariff. Everybody wants their stuff in Chapter 95, get duty-free, and there's a long history of importers trying to sneak things by customs saying, oh no, this is for a holiday. So yeah, really happy to be here and chat with you guys about it.
Folks, what we're going to be looking at here is when items are being imported into the U.S. and they're being imported under the umbrella of being, for a, festive type thing for Christmas, for Halloween, for some kind of holiday. And yet it has, I think the term is utilitarian type use, which means, for those that are about as smart as me, and I had to go look this up, is you can use the item for more than what initially you're saying it's used for. So you're saying it's for holiday, and it's like, okay, I'm bringing in a Christmas hammer, and it actually could be used for construction, right? So that doesn't qualify for the holiday type stuff. So with that, I guess is opening up the avenue here. Do you want to kind of lead us down through what we should be looking for here?
Yeah, so the classic, well, one of the first things to start with is why anybody cares, which I kind of alluded to. 9505, the festive article heading, is unconditionally duty-free. So when you particularly are looking at utilitarian things like apparel, the difference between a sweater that's not 9505 festive article and a sweater that is could be 14% duty, could be even higher depending on what it's made of. So the whole reason anybody cares is because since 1989, it's been unconditionally duty free for these festive articles. And essentially the test is this item used to celebrate a holiday, which sounds easy enough. Number 2, is it recognizably unique to the celebration of that holiday? And number three, can it not be used for something else? So, a great example of something that's not a festive article is like an Easter egg kit, where you have, eggs, you're going to dye things with dyes, and really only we do that for Easter, but you can do it anytime. The Easter egg is immediately recognized as a decoration for Easter. But the kit with the dyes has all of these other purposes that you can use those dyes for. So it is not classified in 95. And with Christmas, it just goes to a whole different level.
We had.
Well, go ahead,
I
Lalo. I
was
was going
gonna.
to
I
say
was gonna,
that article that you guys published was pretty detailed there.
no, it was, and I was gonna show how we had a guest one time on our show who very cleverly did a let me show you here. He did his sweater,
Oh,
a Christmas sweater. He was on our show, and he did this sweater, and
with
he
that,
put the tariff classification. You can't see it very well, but you can see the top of it,
9505.
9505.
yeah.
The rest of the tariff number was below it. But anyway, I just
Well,
he did mention that this year, okay, maybe you can riff from there. I mean, and take off from there. Just because he has Christmas trees and what seems to be a
Reindeer.
reindeer
Yeah.
and
yeah,
Christmas
which is
colors.
very interesting because does 9505, which is a reference to celebrating holidays in like a very nerdy way, make that sweater connected to the celebration of Christmas without, you can say trees and reindeer are not only, they're winter in general, but 9505 is specifically about celebrating holidays. Is that enough compared to ho 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 or Merry Christmas?
Well, you
That's
also
a
had the interesting thing there, is it was red and green, which is traditional Christmas. You could make a really good case.
Or
yes.
intended use. I mean, who the hell is also going to use an ugly Christmas sweater in any time of the year?
There you go.
And particularly that one, right? Where you're wearing it to like I'd assume to the type of holiday party that the three of us would love to be at, right? With like other trade nerds that are gonna get that. But you're not gonna wear that in April, which is actually, a great line from one of the cases in your article where, the judge is saying, are you going to wear a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer sweater, or you're gonna wear a Halloween sweater with a spooky cat in April. And that sweater you just showed, I mean, it's pretty clearly going to be that's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
Well, I was just going to say how I think it would come down to the judge that you got. I mean, that would come down to, quite frankly, a personal interpretation. And, you can make your arguments, and depending on who was sitting on the bench, it could go either way there.
Yeah, and interestingly, not to get too legal with it, this saying, oh, technically, I'm just going to lean into it. So CBP would first be the ones that would make a determination. And then there's so much deference at the Court of International Trade to customs classification on something like this. There would have to be it would have to be pretty clear cut for a judge to go against customs on this one if they said it's not a holiday. And obviously, if they said it is, no importer in the world's going to challenge that. So, yeah, there's some layers there. We do have pretty good guidance about ugly sweater kits, where if you have like a make your own sweater kit, right, with a blank sweater, and then candy canes and gingerbread men, Christmas ornaments, all of the traditional motifs of celebrating Christmas, that kit as a whole is a festive article because decorating the sweater is the activity that celebrates it, and the sweater having utilitarian function. Again, once you decorate that sweater, you're not wearing it in April. I think the ornaments, nativity scenes, I actually have a prop here, an example. I don't know if you can see this that clearly, but this is my mother's nativity scene, and it is a porcelain Inuit nativity scene, and it's missing a lot of what you would think of as a nativity scene. There's no wise men, there's no traditional animals, but this is clearly recognized as a nativity scene, which has its own, not just its own, nativity scenes have their own 10-digit code under 9505. It's like 103000. Even though there's nothing Christmas about it that we would recognize with Santa and everything, nativity scenes are clearly celebrating it, and you don't need every part of it. One figure is enough to fall under here. Uh, and the same thing with like Star Wars Christmas stuff. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. My tree is covered with ornaments that are Star Wars plus Christmas, and those clearly fall in it. It's different if you just have a Star Wars figure and have, oh, here's a hook that you can hang it on your wall and you put it on your Christmas tree. I don't think anybody in the world is going to say, well, that's a Christmas ornament and it's going to end up in toys.
Well, and all right, so let's take that a little bit. Is that with your ornaments, do they have things on the ornaments that would be literally associated with Christmas, or is it just the figurines that, they're set up and they probably would come in I say a kit, let's just say in a set would be a better of here's the, Obi-Wan Kenobi and, all the
Yeah.
different ones,
Well, that gets back to the utilitarian nature. So Disney has released the past few years around the holidays, 6-inch action figure that will be like C-3PO, the robot as a gingerbread man, or the stormtroopers as nutcrackers, right? Like that very strong Christmas motifs.
Do you think that they've already mastered that? Because I know I have a really cool, not me, my son, we bought it for my son, a really cool Buzz Lightyear that is, instead of the traditional blue that Buzz Lightyear has, he's all in red and green. Really shiny, really cool. And then when you press his voice box, it doesn't say, to infinity and beyond. He says, hey, Rudolph, whatever, he's saying Christmas stuff.
Yeah, so here we get into those three tests we were talking about earlier, right? Is it used to celebrate Christmas, which is different than is it a Christmas themed toy, which might have nothing to do with the celebration of Christmas. When we wear holiday sweaters, ugly sweaters, when go to a Christmas party, we're celebrating that holiday. When we play with that Buzz Lightyear, even though he's maybe saying things and it's reminding you of Christmas, Customs is going to say, no, no, no. This is a utilitarian toy, the same way that earrings with Santa Claus on them are not festive articles because you can wear them whenever. And it's not, you don't wear earrings to celebrate Christmas. You kind of play with toys to celebrate Christmas, but not it's too utilitarian and too much a toy to fall under that festive article. I think the
Okay.
same thing with the ornaments. Like if it's a design to be put on a Christmas tree, you're gonna get under 950510 1500 or 2500. If it's a toy that you can just put on the tree or is themed Christmas, I don't think you're gonna get it, which I'm sure Disney, if they could, they would be all over that, right?
Well, all right. So you're telling me, for example, the earrings that have Santa Claus on them would not be considered a Christmas classification, a Christmas ornament or a festive?
So from even if they're shaped like Santa, they're going to be imitation jewelry under 7117. And we have a court case on this. That's the Berry and Co. versus the United States on it, where it included a ton of earrings: Santa, snowmen, teddy bears in Santa outfits, jack-o'-lanterns. And the importer said, these are clearly festive. It's Santa. And Customs and then the Court of International Trade was like, no, this is not. This is jewelry first.
Okay, well, I was just going to say we're going back to so GRI 1, all right, general rules of interpretation, whatever of if there is a classification specific to that item, that's what you use. And it sounds like in that case, even though I mean it's jewelry, whatever, yeah, for festive things, but anyway, that sounds like
Yeah.
that would be the GRI 1 would be applicable in this case.
And that was the holding from the Federal Circuit saying, CIT and customs both applied GRI 1 correctly, saying, hey, these are imitation jewelry. You don't wear an earring to celebrate a holiday the same way that you would wear an ugly sweater only to celebrate, at a Christmas party to celebrate it, right? The ugly Christmas sweater and the jewelry makes it kind of confusing, right? They kind of seem very similar and the same. The reality is people will wear all season long Santa earrings. And the utilitarian nature of being jewelry was, at least to the Court of International Trade and the Federal Circuit, way more controlling than the fact that it's, and that goes back to the same things with the toys. A toy Santa Claus dressed up like R2D2 or vice versa.
Yeah.
Too utilitarian. It's not used to celebrate. And it's interesting in the article, Lalo had pulled it this really old case from 1908 talking about these tinsel toys that were like super delicate. I don't think they make them anymore because of choking hazards, right? There's no way you'd be able to, but really delicate decorations that children play with. Like, obviously, I'm sure everybody listening to this with kids has seen their kids pull an ornament off of the tree and play with it while waiting for Santa to come. That doesn't make it toys. What's interesting on that case is it was way before explanatory notes. The current HTS only existed since 1989, the year I was born. So there is no notes. Now we have in Chapter 95 so many exclusions that make it clear. We've got a full page of what's not in Chapter 95 of examples that includes tons of things that would help. But in 1908, it was sue and go to court. Interesting, back then, they actually didn't want it to be decorations because Christmas decorations had like an 80% duty,
Mm.
while the duty rate on the toys was like 30% or something much lower. And now everybody tries the opposite.
So Hal, I don't we didn't touch too much on that article on that blog post on, like, for example, Halloween costumes. That's another one. I, from experience, my kids are already grown and out of the house, but growing up, I swear we have every single Halloween costume that they ever used, plus more, because they would play dress up during the whole year, and they would have them there when their buddies would come over and everything. They all of a sudden all my daughter's friends are all dressed as princesses or whatever, and my son's friends, they're all wearing those Marvel costumes that he had throughout the years, right? And so they make it. So is that what you're saying? It probably wouldn't even fall under Halloween or festive.
So it's so interesting because at the time of this previous case, which is called the Rubies case, customs was saying, "Oh, this is wearing apparel." Chapter 61, Chapter 62. There's no way that a witch's costume or a pirate costume is a festive article. Court of International Trade disagreed with customs, which is pretty rare, saying no. It's not designed for daily wear, right? Your Marvel costume example, at least back then, people weren't making costumes, Spider-Man costumes that you could wear every day, right? The
Mhm.
Spider-Man costume that your kid was wearing Halloween back of times Rubies was flimsy. It wasn't protective.
Mm.
You were buying it for trick-or-treating, for a Halloween party, and that was the purpose.
Okay.
So and what's the technical term under WCO language, and this has got to be a translation from the French, is articles of fancy dress, right? So in the explanatory notes, I love our platform. Tia always quotes this every time we're doing Halloween classifications. Articles of fancy dress are festive unless of durable textile materials. So if you look at like comic conventions and the like $30,000 professional cosplay costumes,
Yeah.
those are clearly apparel, and they're not Halloween costumes that would be eligible under both WCO explanatory note, festive classification under the Ruby case law, or you know. So you're not supposed to wear it to work. It's a good test.
Get that. All right. So let's back up a second. Out of all the things that we're talking about, what's the application in a business environment here? I'm thinking of some things that are coming to mind. It's like most people listen to this up to this point, may be looking at it going, okay, I don't care, but in reality, let's say that your company has a holiday themed party coming, a Christmas party, a Halloween party, or what, and they're importing or they're buying some goods that happen to be imported in. I see that application. I see another application potentially, and I want you to comment on this, but with any, especially the Christmas season, you really don't know what seems to all of a sudden be a big hit.
Yeah.
And people are coming in, they're buying it. Was all of a sudden now these retail, especially the small shops, are putting in orders like crazy, and chances are it's going to be coming in either express or air cargo or something like that to get it in quicker, and those kinds of things. So in that realm, what should somebody be doing to try and, I guess, minimize their duty and tax assessment or whatever?
Yeah. So, I mean, where we just saw it helping importers in real life usage was prepping for Halloween and things like if you look at the language used by in purchasing and that suppliers put on commercial invoices, you'll see people throw the term Christmas on there or Halloween, right? We saw people calling Halloween decoration, and then the description would be blue and white pumpkin with mermaid theme. That's nothing to do with Halloween. And, figuring out you need to have a classification process more robust than taking words from the description and saying, "Oh, because it says Christmas, because it says Halloween, this is enough for this duty free treatment under 9505." And you have to realize customs has been thinking about this for 120 years. They've been looking at this consistently. So if you're going to tariff engineer and try to take advantage of the duty-free treatment under 9505, you got to do that extra step and really apply those 3 steps, the 3-part test. And on Halloween, we saw a number of importers came to us with 10,000 you know, SKUs potentially, and like, hey, how would we do this? You have to do that extra step of what does it actually look like? Is it actually connected? That's really where most of this impacts are the people who change up what they're selling on a seasonal basis. Like as soon as Christmas is over, there's going to be people trying to bring in Valentine's Day things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And a box of chocolates just because it's in a heart does not make it a festive article. The same time, the Valentine's Day card, that's a little bit, there's more to that. Then we'll have Easter, and there's all of these holidays that you can plan, and there are importers who everything they bring in are festive articles. They structure their supply chains and their purchasing, and they supply Party City, and they supply, big retailers with only duty-free festive articles, and they really know this stuff like the back of their head.
Well, all right. So let me throw something out here. Let's say that a company is putting together a marketing campaign, and it could be an aerospace company, it could be an automobile company or something, and they're putting something together that would be specific to Christmas related. As they're putting this thing together, I mean, that's a marketing campaign, but it's going to be referencing, hey, this Cadillac would look great with a bow on it for Christmas and stuff like that. And they would have something going along with that. We've got a Christmas ornament with the Cadillac emblem on it.
Yeah.
Would
Christmas
that
ornament.
qualify?
Christmas ornament, great example. Purely decorative, has no utilitarian use, only used to celebrate Christmas. Festive article. Branded mug that is Cadillac, but they like put snowflakes on it, and it says like, I don't know what the Cadillac motto is, but whatever. They make it sound Christmassy. Ceramic household article. Too utilitarian. Santa hat that says Cadillac on the Santa hat. If it's made out of durable textile, believe it or not, Santa hats are not festive articles. If it's made as like a joke to wear in the holiday party and then get thrown out, probably festive article. The same thing with like a costume beard, festive article. Ballpoint pens that say Happy Holidays from Cadillac, Merry Christmas from Cadillac. It's holiday themed, but it's a pen. It's going to be classified as a pen. The big one that I've seen get slammed with, holiday tote bags, where they're bringing in for a retailer, everybody that walks away that buys something the week before Christmas gets this tote bag. And they're like, oh, well, this is a festive article. It's used to celebrate, the holiday season. It has nothing to do with celebrating, even though shopping is now part of Christmas.
Hey, Black Friday is a holiday for a lot of people, okay?
Well, that's actually like a great thing to riff onto. How does customs define what counts as a holiday and what's not? You know, there's Pastafarians out there that worship the flying spaghetti monster and are recognized as a tax exempt church. If they created a holiday where they eat pasta, now the answer to that is probably not. But there's other things where if it was like, oh, we wear a pasta strainer. They wear pasta strainer on their hat as, celebrating certain rituals. If they had a holiday where they wore little pasta strainer or decorated a pasta strainer, customs would probably say that, okay, this is a recognized holiday among this group of people and there's festive article status. I don't know if you would need to sue to get that, but
Well, let's back up. Let's take that tote bag idea. What if on the tote bag it said Merry Christmas?
no, not enough.
No. Okay.
Now, if it was a throwaway, flimsy gift bag,
Well, all right. So I could see that. All right, let's take a trade show. I mean, how many
yeah,
of the little,
Right.
nylon bags that are given out and they'll have a company logo on it and all that. But if you put, Merry Christmas or something like that on there, but it's, most people take that and then they discard it. You carry around your kotski that you're picking up and then you're throwing it away.
yeah. So if it's multi-use gift bag, this is not legal advice to anybody listening. This is
Fun fact.
yeah, a multi-use gift bag. I'm gonna say customs is gonna classify as 4202, I think 92, which is a shopping bag. And if it's paper, it would be, I guess, 48 something, 4819 as paper packing containers. If they're multi-use, if they're really, again, going back to that 3-part test, how utilitarian is this? If it's a single-use holiday bag that says, Merry Christmas, ho, 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 from our friends at Simply Trade, that's probably going to be a festive article because you're in this fragile, decorative, not long lasting, not utilitarian. Yeah. And I would even go, you don't need to say Merry Christmas. If it's got Christmas trees on it, if it's got Santa on it, menorahs, dreidels, jack-o'-lanterns for Halloweens, anything where it's really a recognizable holiday association and it's not reusable, I think you have a festive article. Again, definitely not legal advice.
Nice. So we would be remiss to not say, I mean, first of all, Hal is like working without a net here. He is like off his brain and everything. Like he's just doing it without a net.
It's off the top of his head.
I mean, yeah,
I'm like, holy smokes.
So what if you introduced AI? We're now talking about AI here. What if we introduced AI into this whole mix? Will it
Yes.
know what, like those earrings or those costumes? Why and how? I mean, are you back there like typing in and saying, "Oh, no, that's not it." Are you the AI? Are you the
Yeah,
AI? And we talked about that
tried.
before. That Hal is so appropriate that your name is Hal, right? And
Yeah.
for those that do not know the reference, just look it up and go back to
Yeah.
your
So
movie references.
Supercomputer.
HAL 9000. You'll get the best result if you Google who is HAL 9000 and why should this terrify me. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We originally called it HAL AI. We're now TradeInside AI, and we had a potential investor saying, do you really want to be associating your brand with
With
the most
Doomsday.
like the first example of a murderous computer? But AI is very good at this. We're kind of surprised. A big part of it is we have so many cases where customs has weighed in on this because so many importers have tried to sneak one through. And customs had also been kind of heavy-handed at denying the usage of this. So people sued all the time. The more lawsuits we have, the more customs gets constant things, the better AI is at applying these rules and looking at a description that says, oh, Christmas, the AI immediately triggers, okay, we have to do a festive article analysis under 9505. Let's pull the 3-part test. Let's look at the facts of the product description. And it can do that very accurately by looking at what customs has already said. Lots of really good lawyers and brokers that we all know who immediately can tell you the same thing that I did about whether or not something is 9505 festive article or not. The question is, how long does it take that person to do 200 of those items where 10% are festive articles and 90% are not? That's really where AI helps the experts by saying, hey, here's what the AI, think it is. And the expert has the test laid out, has all the elements in favor, and then they can make a determination, is really a game changer because very few companies have the time to have somebody like me look at hundreds of items and say 9505, 4218 for hours. It's just not cost effective to have somebody who should be spending time saying, oh, it's not 9505. Here's the 3 things we need to change. And also, by the way, we should move this sourcing to Mexico to take advantage of, the USMCA exclusions, whatever that is. But AI has shocked me. I was shocked when we first were doing holiday classifications. We'd done a bunch of tests with other AIs, not going to name, but the big publicly available things. And if you put Halloween decoration, mermaid theme, pumpkin into any of the big things, it's going to get it wrong. It's going to say 9505 is Halloween decoration. Just wrong. Our AI pulls from more sources, is doing more, and is able to identify that mermaids have nothing to do with Halloween, and pumpkins are fall items, not pure Halloween. It shocked me though. We were really surprised.
Well, with that, I will say we're going to need to kind of wrap this up, but it's also one of those where I know a lot of folks will also use, let's say, the Chat GPT or some kind of just generic AI. And I've actually personally just tried some things and it did not get it right. Now, it may have gotten close, but it did not get it right on some of the things I was using. And because I would go in and start looking at it and I'm going, where did this come from? So yeah, you got to be sure you're looking at the right AI source as far as if you're going to use that.
The idea, not to say that there's obviously legally, the current rule is you cannot just take an output from AI and take that 10-digit code without validating it yourself and put it on a 7501 and submit to customs, which, we've designed our whole system to make that very clear, not to do that and to double check it. But when you get close enough and make tiny mistakes using AI and then spread that out across thousands of SKUs, tens, even if you were 90% there, that 10% is enough to, really bite you. Which is why I always tell my clients it's worth the time to be sure. We don't have compliance departments don't have the time to go back and check things every 6 months. So you got to be right the first time.
I just saw also that you all posted a really interesting blurb on LinkedIn on the Costco lawsuit that you all and your AI is also helping clients prepare for that in case the ruling comes down and says either way, whatever Supreme Court says, that you are entitled to refunds, you're not entitled to refunds. Or Costco's argument is, correct me if I'm wrong, Hal, Costco's argument, the lawsuit they filed yesterday, I believe, or recently in the last few days, was I'm owed that money. Basically, that's what they're saying. I'm just being very, very generic here and everything.
Yeah.
So
I have a right to it the same way that the IRS would owe the money if they improperly collected income tax, is what Costco's arguing, which my personal opinion is they're right. And the big question from that article and looking forward is we don't know what the Supreme Court, if they strike down IEPA, will say the refund process looks like. Big companies that have the resources to sue are saying, I'm going to get in now and get my claim early so that I get my money back the quickest, and so that I don't end up being in a situation where they say, oh, you have to have sued, or we're going to let customs develop this Byzantine, super complicated process, and then maybe 18 months from now we'll start processing refunds. Costco does not want to wait, and those big companies filing the lawsuit, it seems like a smart cover your bases strategy. And I think for us, we're at the process where a lot of importers don't have access to the line level data that they need to identify their refund potential. So we're saying, hey, we'll help you go through all your data, figure out exactly what entries are liquidating soonest to file protests on if we need to, extend liquidation, and come up with a comprehensive refund preparedness strategy. And using AI, we make that pretty painless. But yeah, we don't know what the process is going to look like. I think anybody that listened to that case is in agreement that things do not look good for the president's cornerstone economic policy around these tariffs.
It's going to be, no matter which way the Supreme Court goes, it's going to be a big mess.
Yeah. And I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but big question for us is how do we help all the drop shippers, small importers that used as an importer of record FedEx, UPS, right? Because if the filing is going to the same ACH account that paid those duties, which were paid by the importer of record, in this case FedEx, UPS, and then they build the customer, obviously, when UPS, are they going to get those refunds? And are they just going to say too bad to the actual importer? Or is there going to be, there's some huge cans of worms here.
Well, and to your point, I mean, that's one of the things too, that you would have to isolate that primarily to formal entries. And it would be looking at it based off of the ultimate consignee field of the entry. It'd be the EIN number of the person that bought the goods, even though the importer of record would be an express carrier. That would be the justification there. and right for the money. The informal entries, that's a whole different ballgame. I don't know that if that would, and by
I
the
know
time
there
you
will
go
be
through it, I
lawsuits.
don't,
I
yeah.
mean, somebody's got to sue on behalf of all of these people that paid. I don't know. Well, it's going to be, I think, a real stressful time for a lot of people in the industry if they put a clock on filing for refunds. Um, but we'll have to see. And unfortunately, we can't look at, like, a lot of people listening will remember GSP, and every time GSP expired, there would
My
be
gosh.
refunds automatically, but those refunds were coming as part of an act of Congress re-implementing GSP. It
Hmm.
was never a situation where a court had to say, well, they're due refunds on GSP retroactively. So we're kind of we don't really have good historical examples to see what's going to happen.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, to your GSP thing, folks, if you're listening to this, GSP is a special tariff treatment, and it's usually provided to third world country type origins, if you will, or something in there, and then it would expire. And the thing that always just used to irritate me to death, it wasn't a surprise. It, there's a date there and all that, and you just couldn't get Congress to do something. And then the refunds would come back. Sometimes those refund checks would be like $1.50 or something like that. It cost the government so much more had they just gone ahead and renewed it or killed it. One of the, do one or the other and just be done with it. I guess in the end here is that as we're looking at all this, and the festivities and all, it's hopefully people that are in business, they're importing their goods and whatnot, give some thought to if your goods, if you're trying to get them in under Chapter 95 in a lower duty rate or duty free status, you need to do your homework. And it is, like, matter of fact, Lalo made reference, your company is TradeInside, correct?
TradeInside AI.
AI.
Find it.
Okay. And which would be worth checking out and looking at this. I mean, this isn't a show to try and, as a commercial to promote your thing, but it's like, well worth it. You're definitely knowledgeable. So
Thank you.
I know you're going to forget more than I'm going to get to learn on this. So that's one thing.
I've done a lot of classifications in the last 20 years. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure, and hope you had good Thanksgiving, and hope everybody listening has a wonderful holiday season.
Well, it's been an honor to have you on, and folks, like us, share us. Thank you so much for your support. We've hit another milestone there that Lalo, you posted on LinkedIn for us, didn't you?
Yeah, that we hit our 400th episode. In fact, this one right now with Hal is 4023. So we're well over 400.
And it's just like, hey, who would have thought when we, started this that we'd go this far and then all that, and it's been fantastic. So again, Lalo, to you and the team there that produced this has been fantastic.
Thank you, Hal.
Yeah, thank you.
Say hi to the guys for us, okay? So John and the whole gang out there.
Okay, thanks.
Folks, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the good festive things and whatnot. We hope you have a great day, and hopefully you'll be listening in. So share us, like us. Thank you.